All right, welcome to Never Shutting Up, where I'm never shutting up about being healed from your trauma because so many people are healing from their trauma. It's time for people to be healed from their trauma. Like, I feel like I used to see this. So I studied like not mental health, health sciences in college. It was my understudy, and I feel like whenever I took the psychology classes, they were so interesting, but like they never really share a lot of things like for how to apply them into life, which really pissed me off. And then it continued as I got more into the field when I was like done with school, and then I moved over to like going into the workforce, right? And when I was doing my undergraduate and I was doing my medical like ethics class, we literally had the option to like pull out of a hat and like choose what your topic was going to be. And this is just how I did it. Not everybody did it that way. Some people just normally picked it. And I actually wound up getting medical malpractice, which was kind of insane because medical malpractice actually wound up being like one of the top killers in the United States and just like in medicine in general. And I just was so, at that point forward, I had lost every single, and it had been like that, by the way, for like 30 years. And in that moment, I had lost all faith in the medical system, and I literally quit school, and I didn't even finish my undergraduate. I had like 3 classes left. I have over 120 credits, so like I never gave a shit. But it was just I was going into a field where the whole entire point was healing people, and the people that were healing people were hurting people and actually ending their breathing, like ending their life. And I didn't want to be any part of it. I had decided from that moment on, I didn't want to be any part of it. And anybody knows, like, that is a healer, knows the fact that, like, you literally go into the fucking field because of the fact that, like, you have pain and you don't want other people to live with the pain that you lived with. So like from this point, I decided that it would be a good idea. I went into service industry for a really long time, and then eventually I found my way back to the medical field when I actually worked at a psychological center. And I worked for a neuroforensic psychologist, and it was honestly the best decision that I ever made in my entire life. It was like right after 2020, right after the pandemic. I think it was like 2021. And I met this wonderful South African man. My mom actually went to the interview, and she was like, I know you want to get out of service industry. Like, why don't you go? I think that you'd be perfect for this position. And I went, I loved it. I love him. I still talk to him. Shout out to Martin if you are ever watching this. But it started this whole entire thing where like I started to become very aware of the fact that people are not well informed when it comes to the psychological field. And when it comes to psychology and like neuroscience in your brain and anything that has to do with trauma. Because I would watch the same people like in the waiting rooms have the same problems, and like nothing would change and nothing would give. They would still show up to the office like crying every single solitary week, and they'd be in the, it's like, oh yeah, this is, she's been, I like look in the file notes and it's like she's been a patient for 4 years. So I realized that a lot of people just don't have the information that they need. And I feel the need to fill the gap as somebody that has been diagnosed with complex post-traumatic stress disorder, bipolar disorder, bipolar 1, at least that's the really, really fun one, OCD, ADHD, and autism. I've self-diagnosed myself ADHD and autism. There is no lying on this channel. I also have no shame. There's no fucking way, with the way that I grew up, how I answer questions, and the literal fact that I did not understand the joke, why did the chicken cross the road, that I do not have, that I am not on the spectrum with autism. If you ask me a question, you're getting a direct answer. Like, that is literally, whatever. I digress. But the whole entire point of like me saying all of this is like, I understand where you've been before. Like, I understand what it's like to be in the position where, like, all hope almost feels lost because of the fact that, like, no one explains to you the psychological field. So today, I'm gonna give myself that little intro so at least you know about me and you know why the fuck you should be taking advice from me, right? So, a little bit more about my story, and then I'll stop fucking talking about myself and I'll give you guys some information. But I want you to understand the viewpoint that I come from, because not only is it not typical, it's also not one that, like, it's not medical, but like, you don't need to know medicine in order to be able to reclaim your autonomy and be sovereign, okay? You need to learn how to be your biggest advocator, especially when it comes to your mental health, because ain't nobody fucking out there suffering for your mental health other than you. So after I worked in this psychological center, I didn't do therapy of my own. When I moved to Texas with my boyfriend, just want to let you know, I'm gay. I've been gay since I was 5. I knew I was gay when I was 5. I came out when I was 17. I had my first girlfriend in middle school. I had my first, like, real relationship in high school, and I wound up dating someone from my high school, like, again. The last guy that I dated again. And when I tell you I did the same pattern, I mean I fucked over the same 2 people in the same exact way, 14 years apart. It was crazy. And at that point, I didn't realize the information that was, like, dinging over my head, which is what most people miss. What is that? I had trauma and I had no fucking idea how bad it was. I had no idea that your brain is just an organ and you can literally fix an organ. If you can fix your liver's a bad, example because it's regenerative, but like your stomach, you can also regenerate, like, stem cells and things in there too, to, like, clean up. And if you have SIBO, there are SIBO protocols. For anyone that doesn't know, it's your small intestines bacterial overgrowth. And when you do that, there's a whole protocol. So why wouldn't you be able to make your brain healthier? Why wouldn't you be able to fix your mental health, which isn't just your brain, it's a whole body system. It literally is the powerhouse in the computer, but it connects directly into your spinal cord. But let's not even get into that yet. The part that I want to really fucking dive into deep today is understanding different portions of the psychological field so that you can get the best care you can get, okay? I don't think that people understand, and this is my opinion, but I think that it is wildly inappropriate for psychiatrists to be diagnosing patients. After working in a psychological center, one of the most insane concepts that I just could not wrap my mind around was the fact that so many people were getting psychological evaluations, and so many people don't know the difference between a psychiatrist and a psychologist. And when I say they are vastly different, I mean what they do is vastly different. We used to have people call and be like, yeah, I'd really like you to prescribe this for me. Well, sweetheart, a psychologist can't do that. Psychologists cannot prescribe you medication. You need to go to a psychiatrist for medication. But let's take a step back before you even get there. You shouldn't be getting medication from a psychiatrist without getting a psychological evaluation. What is a psychological evaluation? It's a battery of tests that you sit down with a trained psychologist so that you can go over where your mental, like, not only anatomy is at, like your brain's anatomy and where it's at and what's showing up and how it's patterning. If you don't do that, you don't actually have any evidentiary support that is what is happening. And I watch so many people go into psychiatrists' offices and get diagnosed based off of talking to them. You can't do it that way. That's not the way that you do it. You don't have someone listen to you. And I say this from my own experience. While I was working at the psychological center, I got a psychological evaluation because I was like, shit, I didn't even know that was how you do it. And then from there, I brought in my psychological evaluation to the psychiatrist so that he knew what to prescribe me, which we're not even going to get in on that because that was such a fucking disaster being on medication. I cannot even tell you. It made me so sick. But the thing that's so insane to me is literally the fact that like so many people you're going into the game of mental health and trying to fix your mental health, and like I applaud you all day. I literally applaud you for like wanting to take those steps and wanting to do better for yourself. But you need to do the research, okay? We need to do the research. You cannot go to a psychiatrist without a psychological evaluation and get diagnosed by a psychiatrist because you haven't done the tests. They don't really know. At that point, they're kind of shooting in the dark. They're guessing because they've done it for so long. Which, does that have validity? Absolutely. And have they gone through the same, like a lot of the same schooling as psychologists? Absolutely. Plus, so, but in like different ways, like the schooling is different. So you can't just be showing up at your psychiatrist's office without a psychological evaluation and getting medicated. That's literally medically unsafe. Not on top of the fact that like mental health medication is never just for mental health. It's like seizure medication. It's like all these other things. When you take a mental health medication, it has like 4 other things that it can also heal, like in taking the medication. So I just wanted to touch on that today because I feel like in order to start this channel and to start talking about things, we have to start at the basics. And the basics are, this is what my history is. I literally have been in your position before where I'm like, I am looking to be healed because for the love of God, I can't fucking do this anymore. I went to school for it. I've lived it. I've moved through it and I've come out the other side. So I just want to start this off by saying the fact that if I can fucking do it, for sure you can fucking do it. Okay. And next, you need to know the difference between a psychiatrist and a psychologist. And you need to not allow the game of healing to play you. You need to play the game, okay? And playing the game is understanding that you need to get a psychological evaluation before you take any medication because that is not safe. And I'm sure psychiatrists are going to come for me on this one and be like, you shouldn't be saying that. You shouldn't be over-prescribing people things that they shouldn't be taking based off of tests that they have not received yet. That's irresponsible. So no, I'm not going to agree with you on this. I'm not going to fall into big pharma. That is ridiculous. That's insane. Go get a psychological evaluation. Have someone that goes through the battery of tests with you so you can know exactly what the issue is. So you can get diagnosed and you can get pharmaceutical treatment if that's the route that you want to go on. But stay tuned on this channel because I'm going to be teaching literally everything that I possibly can about the mental health field, everything that I've learned by being in the mental health field, going to years of therapy, being medicated, getting all these diagnoses, and not managing any of my symptoms anymore, and not really having any of my symptoms from any of these things anymore. Because life on the other side is much shorter and easier than you think that it is. And I feel like they make it seem like it's so difficult to be healed because it's another big pharma cogwheel, okay? And you're smarter than that and you can do better than that for yourself because it'll get you to the finish line faster. And isn't that the whole point of doing something, is to eventually get to the end of it? How long are you going to be staring at a picture of yourself doing inner child meditations? Like at some point it's got to stop. At some point it has to be done. So welcome to my channel where I'm just gonna fucking let it rip. I'm letting it rip on all the society or all the secrets that they don't tell you in the mental health field, okay? I love you. I mean it. I'm so excited to continue making videos. I don't know how often I'll post these, to be honest with you. I'd like to post them every day. But there is chances that like I won't know exactly what I want to say that day. So sometimes I might skip. The likelihood of me showing up every single solitary day is pretty high though, because you know, I can literally never shut the fuck up. So welcome to Never Shutting Up. And I am so excited for you to learn more. Goodbye.